Edmonton Oilers 8, LA Kings 2. Oilers take game 3. Zach, let's just get your overall thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to be feeling pretty good if you're an Oilers fan at this point in time. I mean, it was a pretty massive game for the Oilers, all things considering. To walk into LA and walk out with a big win like that in a dominant performance, I mean, how can you argue against it? The Kings came a little bit hot and heavy in that first period, and the Oilers scored 2 huge goals, Leon Draisaitl and then Zach Hyman. And really, they never looked back from that point on. The second period, they absolutely started to pour it on. And I thought even when LA decided to kind of push back and they found their legs, the Oilers did a great job of keeping them to the outside all game long.
Do you think this is more of a case of the Edmonton Oilers just being very good or the LA Kings being very bad?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think the Oilers are a very good squad right now who are playing the best hockey they've played all season long. And I think that's exactly what you want in the playoffs. On top of that, I think Jay Woodcroft is out coaching Todd McLellan so far in this series. And that's pretty massive as well when you think about it. The line matching that the Kings are trying to do isn't proving to be effective for them. And the Oilers know what the Kings are. They're a team that takes a lot of shots and takes a lot of them from anywhere on the ice. And as Oilers fans, that's something we'd remember about a Todd McLellan coach team from a few years ago.
Now, you mentioned the shots there, right? Last night, the shots on goal were 46-37 for Edmonton. Are the shots on goal at all a concern for you?
No. No, I'm really not concerned about it. I mean, when you look at it, you have to take a look at where the high danger shots are coming from, right? And I think for the Oilers, they're doing a really, really good job of controlling where those are coming from and keeping them to the outside. The Oilers have looked dominant in doing so. And when you look at the scoring chances, they've been pretty much even down the middle. In saying that, a lot of those scoring chances are coming from low danger areas, which is exactly what you want for the Edmonton Oilers. It gives Mike Smith a chance to see the puck. And hey, he's a guy who has said in the past that he is a high volume goaltender. So when he's facing more shots, he feels that he's at his best. And I think that's exactly what the Oilers need.
Was there one player on the Oilers do you think that stood out above the rest, or was this an overall team performance? Because Evander Kane had a hat trick. That's huge. Who's been the best performer so far in this series for the Oilers?
I mean, it's hard to argue with what Evander Kane's done at this point. He scored 3, 4, 5 goals here for the Oilers at big moments. I think a guy like Zach Hyman maybe went a little bit underappreciated so far in this series. He had no points in the first 2 games, but jumped out with 2 goals and an assist last night, scoring some really timely goals for the Oilers that really helped to extend their lead in the first and second periods. Cody Ceci, another guy, I think that was a little bit of an unsung hero last night. He ended the night with 3 assists. That's been great to see. He's really settled in quite well, shockingly well, may I say, as a top pairing defenseman for the Edmonton Oilers this year. So, I think up and down the lineup, the Oilers are getting solid contributions. I'm on him a little bit much recently, but a guy like Josh Archibald, I even thought hasn't looked completely terrible in these last couple of games that he slid into the Oilers lineup. And obviously there's something that's working there for this team as they've been able to outscore LA 14-2 in the last 2 games.
I guess my next question for you is, do you think there's any areas of concern for the Oilers, areas that they should really improve going into game 4?
Yeah, I do. I think the bottom 6 is a little bit of a concern right now for me, especially after that last game. When you take a look at the underlying numbers, the bottom 2 lines, they got absolutely dominated last night when it came to shot attempts, high danger shot attempts, and from the expected goals. So, if I'm Jay Woodcroft, I'm strongly considering getting a guy like Derek Brassard into that bottom 6 for game 4 here. Again, it's probably going to end up with, in my eyes, Josh Archibald coming out of the lineup because I think his skill set's a little bit redundant in that bottom 6. Derek Brassard, meanwhile, he's a guy who is a veteran in the NHL. He's played a lot of games in the regular season. He's played a lot of playoff hockey in the past too. I think he's a guy who can maybe help steady that ship a little bit in the bottom 6. And, before anybody kind of jumps out and says, oh, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I agree with that. But in the same breath, in the time of playoffs, you're always looking to improve. And I think if you're not looking to improve, even when you're having success, I think you're making a mistake and you're doing a disservice to your own team. So I think Jay Woodcroft is a really, really smart coach, and I think he might look at making some changes down there.
No, that's some great points there from you because there's always areas to improve, exactly. And I guess my next question is for game 4, What do we expect from the LA Kings? Will you think they'll have a nice bounce back? Will they be a bit tougher? What do you think?
I think the LA Kings are going to be a desperate team come Sunday night. I mean, they're down big right now, and I know it's only 2-1 in the series, but you can't help but feel the Kings are a little bit on their heels right now. They got embarrassed on the road, and then they got absolutely embarrassed on home ice. I mean, an 8-2 game in your first playoff game in your own building. Um, that's a really tough spot for the Kings to be in. And you could see after the game, Todd McClellan wasn't too happy about it because his press conference lasted all of 31 seconds, where he was pretty explicit in saying that he was very disappointed in what happened. It's going to be a desperate LA Kings squad, and I don't think the Oilers can take them for granted in any sense of the term because, at the end of the day in hockey, it's about wins and aggregate scores are not counted, unlike soccer. For the Oilers, there's still a long ways to go in this series.
One player, happy birthday to the Bison King. What have you seen him out of him in this series so far? Because he's always a little bit subject to a little criticism for his lack of goal scoring. He has a goal in the series so far. What have you seen from Jesse Puljujärvi?
Yeah, I've really liked Yes's game so far in the playoffs. I think he's doing exactly what he's done all year, and he's a tremendous support player alongside the best player in the world and one of the best finishers in the game right now. Credit to Puljujärvi because he's a player who works hard on all ends of the ice. I think when you talk about a guy like Puljujärvi, he may not be the prettiest player out there on the ice, but he's incredibly efficient at what he does, and that's breaking up, play in the neutral zone and transitioning the puck and getting it on the stick of guys like Connor McDavid and Evander Kane. And when that happens, that's where a lot of that offense comes from on that line. And I think Puljujärvi is a guy who is going very, very underappreciated right now.
One question I was getting a lot in my TikTok live yesterday was, I know this is like something to talk about in the off season, but with how Evander Kane's playing, do the Oilers try to re-sign him? Like, what do you think of that?
Yeah, at this point in time, I think it's a no-doubter that you're trying to re-sign Evander Kane. At the end of the day, he's scored almost a half a goal per game in his time in Edmonton, and he's looked absolutely tremendous on that top line. It's going to be a difficult negotiation. It's going to be a challenge for the Oilers to get him in under the cap. And it's probably going to involve some movement of some guys, maybe like Tyson Barrie or Zach Kassian, or maybe another move to shift out some salary.
That's awesome. Any predictions going into Game 4 on Sunday?
Yeah, I think the Oilers come out on top again. I think the Kings are on their heels, like I mentioned. I think this is a prime opportunity for the Oilers to develop some of that killer instinct that we've talked about so much with this team over the last few years. They've struggled to do that, and I think this is a great opportunity for them to really push in that direction.
Perfect. And that's our Game 3 reaction. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the Nation Network, and we'll see you after Game 4.